Hello, my name is Bram Thijssen. I'm 26 years old. I'm from Breda, the Netherlands, and I've did the Masters in Imagineering back in 2018-2019 and graduated in 2019 as well. I have a background in the international leisure business. I've been working at a couple of large breweries, and I also worked at some event agencies. After I graduated from the Master in Imagineering, I decided I wanted to do something completely different. So I left the event industry and I decided to seek a career in the IT industry. And the reason why I did so had to do with the kind of work that you had to do in IT. And of course, there are many different jobs in the IT sector, but there's a big opportunity to focus more on process and people than there is in the event industry. So I decided to seek after a career in the IT sector. I've been working in the IT sector for the last 2 years now, and despite what you may think of it, it's actually a very nice, hectic, sometimes complex, fun and people-orientated sector. When I started working in the IT sector, I got the opportunity to work as an adoption and change consultant. Every time when a company adopts new IT systems or they change something in their existing infrastructure, it means that the end users have to get used to it. And that isn't always easy, and it has a significant impact on the daily operation of that business. What I'm trying to do as a change consultant, I'm trying to use a set of tools, guide people through that transition in order to achieve a specific outcome. And that always has to do with more efficient working, higher incomes, less staff, etc. So it could be a variety of goals, and it could also mean that we have a variety of goals within one project. Creating that toolbox and guiding people through that transition, I couldn't do that without the Master in Imagineering. A lot of the things that I'm using in my daily work are actually directly coming from the Master in Imagineering. I've once read a paper provided by the Imagineering Master that talks about organizations as conversations rather than blueprints. And that's something that I still use every single day in my line of work. So what we do is we take companies through 3 phases of change. We first have the preparation, then we actually execute the change, so we manage the change, and then we reinforce the change. Those 3 phases all have their specific tools, and we work in a somewhat Scrum way. Naturally, people that have to deal with change, they will resist to it, and they might do so heavily or very little, but they will resist a little bit to that. Making sure that you work together with those people makes it easier for them to adapt to the new situation. What I use in my daily work is appreciative inquiry, something that I learned doing in the Master in Imagineering and something that I practice facilitating those sessions, those appreciative inquiry sessions during the Master in Imagineering. So again, something really important in my daily work that I couldn't do without the Master in Imagineering, or at least I couldn't have done so well without the Master in Imagineering, because the Master in Imagineering really allowed me to practice with that. So those are a couple of things that I've learned from the Master in Imagineering and that I use in my daily work activities. But also on a more personal level, I use a lot of the skills that I've been taught at the Master in Imagineering. The Master in Imagineering isn't just a theoretical educational program. It's a really hands-on orientated program. Every time when you learn something new, there will be a session directly afterwards where you actually get to use those tools that were taught to you just a second ago. So that allows you as a consultant orientated person to really practice and to really have those extra miles of practice before you actually go into the field. So I'm very, very grateful for that, and I'm 100% sure that I couldn't do my job as well as I'm doing it today without the Master in Imagineering. If you're considering to join the Master in Imagineering program, I think it's very important to consider a couple of things. First of all, are you a consultancy orientated person? The Master in Imagineering always focuses a little bit on that advisory role and the role of a facilitator. That means that often people will view you as a consultant, whether it's in-house or as an external party. And I personally really like that, but it's also something that you have to consider for yourself. Do you like guiding and facilitating groups and help them to move through a specific process? Second, it's also important to consider the non-linearity of the program. other masters, for example, if you would like to focus on law or accountancy, those masters are a lot more straightforward. The Master in Imagineering, they give you a large toolbox with all sorts of tools in it to help catalyze change, to innovate systems, to guide people through change and transition. And it's not really a given process that you will go through. It's something that you have to go through yourself, and you have to trust that process. And you also have to trust yourself to guide yourself through that process. That may sound a little bit abstract, and I had that same feeling at the beginning, but it's much more a broad spectrum of lessons that you will be taught, and those will help you in your professional life rather than you learn one specific thing. And I hope that makes a little bit sense. Third, it's also important to consider what you would like to do after the Master in Imagineering. I was very happy that I did the Master in Imagineering, but the last couple of weeks after I was moving to the end of the Master in Imagineering, I started to doubt a little bit what I would like to do with the Master in Imagineering. I really didn't consider myself to be a consultant as much as I think of me being a consultant right now. And I think it's very important to also make up your mind a little bit, okay, like what would I like to get out of this master, and what would I like to do after the master? Those are three things that I would have thought be worthwhile considering before I joined the Master in Imagineering. Whether you're going to join or not, I think the Master in Imagineering is a very, very interesting program. It will help all sorts of people. It will help everybody in their daily work activities because it gives you tools that you can use on a daily basis, and those are very, very much needed. The tools that they will teach you at the Master. And I think if you look to the future, where we start to work a lot more with information rather than with our hands, and we focus a lot more on process and knowledge, all the things that they will tell you at the Master in Imagineering are very, very valuable. I didn't regret it for a second, and I hope if you decide to join the Master in Imagineering, you won't regret it as well. And I'm pretty sure you won't. Have a nice day.